The IPL more often than not will divide the Indian cricket fan base as each of the fans, let's say, try and back their own team louder than the other team's fans. However, if there is one man who can often transcend that ability to get, let's say, jeered or booed by any fan base, and in fact will more often than not be cheered by them, then it is of course this man, MS Dhoni. So loyal and fervent have been his fans around the country that he's more often than not ended up getting cheered even when it's not been a CSK home match. That in fact has been the level of adulation and admiration that he's received. But it's not just limited to the stadiums where Dhoni has been making an absolutely mega impact. In fact, as you're going to find out, more often than not, people have been tuning in to watch MS Dhoni even for against teams where you'd not be expecting the viewership to perhaps be as high. Dhoni has been driving it really high, and it's reflective in, of course, the numbers that you're seeing, at least as far as the online viewing or the digital let's say broadcasting viewing is concerned. In fact, if you look at the recent matches, or if you look at the 7 matches which have the highest concurrent viewership at one point for an IPL match on the digital platform, you'd realize that a lot of those games were in fact CSK games. So let's actually do a little bit of number crunching and back up this statement of MSD being a beloved fan favorite across the country with a little bit of numbers and analyze why exactly that is the case. Now, if you look at these numbers, the peak digital viewership of certain particular matches at one given point in time, the highest was the RCB CSK match. Of course, it's a big derby, Bangalore and Chennai is a massive rivalry, but the concurrent viewership peaked at 2.4 crores, and a lot of that was once Dhoni had come into bat. So to say that the people know or are aware of when exactly it is to tune in to watch their favorite Thala Dhoni, a bit of an understatement. In fact, even if you look at CSK versus RR, a match which by the way had gone down to the wire, final over, and also featured Dhoni at the crease for that last over, the viewership was 2.2 crores. And RCB LSG, of course, is a bit of an exception, as is KKR versus SRH. But remember, RCB versus LSG, it went to a last ball finish, so there were plenty of people keen to find out what was happening. KKR SRH saw the IPL 2023's first ever, or rather the first 100 of the IPL 2023, courtesy of Harry Brooks, so viewership peaked a bit for that as well. And even if you look at other matches, the remaining 3 which I talked about, the 7, TCMI is the only other outlier because this was the only match which had 1.7 crore approximately concurrent viewers, because again it ended up going to a last over finish. But even if you look at the other 2 games, the maximum viewership is for games when MS Dhoni is playing. CSK versus LSG, again, viewership peaked at around the time when Dhoni here was hitting Mark Wood for 2 sixes. That was the time when viewership started climbing like crazy. And GT CSK, again, this was of course, remember, the opening match of the IPL, so there was a little bit perhaps that could be attributed to that, but people will always tune in to watch MS Dhoni. That's just how it's always been. But why exactly is it the case? Why is Dhoni? Why is it that a Dhoni who's actually, clearly aged and probably not at his best or not at his fluent best, still such a popular draw for the crowds around the country? Well, it's pretty simple. People love their heroes. Dhoni has been a hero for India because, of course, he was arguably or definitely the most successful white ball captain ever. And nowadays, he's retired from international cricket and he only plays in the IPL. That part is key to remember. He doesn't play anything beyond IPL cricket. And therefore, there's really something of a novelty to say watching MS Dhoni. You can only watch him during the IPL, and therefore, even fans who probably wouldn't be tuning into the IPL or all IPL matches will be tuning into matches where they know Dhoni will be playing. And that's very important to note. And another thing that's worth noting is that this time around, digital viewership of the IPL has increased considerably for one very simple reason. IPL online is free to view. It wasn't that way until recently. It was only when the new media rights cycle kicked in and the TV broadcast and the digital broadcast were handed to 2 separate entities that you ended up seeing something like this happen. And the digital broadcasters are, of course, giving away IPL as well as WPL matches, and if you go back a bit in time, FIFA World Cup matches, all for free. that makes a massive difference, because people who weren't necessarily going to be watching, say, on television, or might actually be busy at some point, can just very easily turn on the match on their phones, and that is making a massive difference. So it's fair to say that the massive viewership that has been coming in on digital, MS Dhoni is a very key reason for a lot of that. And whilst many people talk about, Dhoni might be no longer the same player, and that's a pretty valid statement to make, he remains as strong a box office attraction as ever. And if you're the IPL and the broadcasters, you want this man to be playing on as long as possible. Of course, we know, eventually one day he'll call an end to his IPL career. But based on the kind of numbers he's generating here, as well as the fact that he's still a pretty effective finisher lower down the order, you might be seeing Dhoni stick around for a few more years and maybe beyond, if not necessarily in a playing capacity. But right now, the Dhoni factor is very much there, and Dhoni still remains box office viewership for cricket fans around the nation. Thank you guys so very much for joining us in this video. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to like it, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook, download the AajTak app too, and if you're already on the channel, go ahead and check out some other videos that we've done. For now, from my side, goodbye.